available to view online now and in the future. We welcome the use of the Welsh language at meetings. I have had no requests for people to speak Welsh today, so this meeting will be conducted in English only. Those attending in the chamber, please be aware that we are all on camera and you may be visible on screen when people around you are speaking. And please remember to speak clearly into your microphones. Committee members participating remotely, can you please refrain from using the chat function and instead use the raised hand icon to indicate when you want to speak. Please remember to keep your microphone muted when you are not talking. May I remind members that as per statutory guidance made under Section 4 of the Local Government Wales Measure 2011 and our formally adopted hybrid meeting policy, any member attending a meeting remotely must be able to be seen and heard by the members and officers who are attending the meeting, as well as by members of the public viewing the meeting. So can I ask you all, please use your cameras for the duration of the meeting. Thank you. Right, we'll move on to the agenda. Item 1, attendance and apologies. Chris, do we have any apologies?
No apologies this morning, Chair.
Thank you, Chris. Agenda item 2, declarations of interest. Chris, could you please ask members in alphabetical order to state whether they have any interest to declare?
Chair, just a moment. Steve Evans asked me to say that he was attending a COVID jab and then he hoped to get on, but he wasn't sure if he would.
Okay, then he might come late then.
But if he doesn't, right, can he give his apologies?
Yes, indeed. Did you get that, Chris?
I did, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you.
Steve Evans' way of putting that. Sorry about
that. Thank you, Stuart. Chris, could you please ask members in alphabetical order to state whether they have any interest to declare?
Of course I can, thank you, Chair. Councillor Ashley?
So I haven't got the item up, but the Community Council item, the Community Farm item, can you tell me which the number is on that one, please?
Item 6.
Item 6. I've got 2 declarations on that one, personal, not prejudicial. One that I'm Cwmbran Community Councillor, and 2 that I am the chair of the Shadow Board for the Community Farm.
Brilliant, thank you, sir. Okay, moving on. Councillor Best is not online, and nor is Councillor Evans, so we'll move on to Councillor Gordon.
Nothing from me, thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Haller?
Personal, non-prejudicial interest for items 5, 7 and 8 as a member of Pontypool Community Council.
Thank you. Councillor Gaynor-James?
Yes, items 5, 7 and 8, member of Pontypool Community Council.
Thank you. Councillor John James?
Yeah, items 5, 7 and 8, again, Pontypool Community Council.
Brilliant. Thank you, sir. Councillor Janet Jones?
None that I'm aware of.
Thank you. Councillor Mark Jones?
Yeah, the only one, I think is obviously the one on Hanbury Road, 5, 7 and 8, is in my ward.
No problem, thank you.
Okay.
Brilliant, thanks. Councillor Parish?
Nothing I'm aware of, thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Slade?
No interest to declare, no.
Thanks. Councillor Chew is not online, so that's it, Chair.
Thank you, Chris. We go on to agenda item 3, minutes of the Planning Committee from the 7th of September. Members, could you possibly state whether you have anything to raise in relation to the minutes? If not, I will take them as approved. I can't see any hands up, so we'll take them as approved. And I would like to thank Councillor Stuart Ashley for chairing this meeting while I was away. Thank you, Stuart.
It does seem an awful long time ago.
It is a long time ago, yes, yes. Right, we go on to item 4, agenda item 4, minutes of the special planning meeting from September the 20th, 2023. Members, could you possibly state whether you have anything to raise in relation to the minutes? If not, I'll take them as approved. Right, I can't see anyone's hand up. Thank you, we'll take them as approved. On to agenda item 5, planning application 23/P/0611/CND, discharge of condition 5, landscaping of planning permission 23/P/0101 FUL to include details of tree and vegetation removal and replanting at multi-storey car park, Glontovine Road, Pontypool. Can I ask Mia McAndrews, Senior Planner, to present the report, please?
Yes, thank you, Chair. So yeah, this planning application, it's the discharge condition 5 for the multi-storey car park scheme that was approved, I believe it was back in May. This application was for the refurbishment and extension of the car park as part of the Levelling Up scheme in Pontypool. The tree and landscaping details were required by condition because we didn't have the information needed at the time. But at the time, the applicant did intend to retain all trees. It's a bit unusual to bring a discharge condition to committee, but the reason for that is because initially they intended to retain trees and now they've discovered they do need to remove some. So this is the approved scheme. And here's some photos of existing trees and vegetation at the site. So the photos at the top are trees and vegetation to the rear of the car park. And here you can see some trees and vegetation along the Tesco car park. So here's a plan that shows the existing vegetation at the site. So there's some trees here and to the rear, and then there's other various hedges and grasses and weeds around. The existing trees, there's 17, and there's one tree group, which is a group of smaller trees, and there's a variety of aspen, white beams, hornbeams, ash, elder and elm. So this is the proposed site clearance plan. All the vegetation, such as the hedgerow, the weeds, will be removed. They'll retain 11 of the trees, but 6 would have to be removed, as well as the tree group. So of the trees to be removed, 1 is very low quality, 3 are low quality, and 2 are moderate quality, and then the tree group is low quality as well. They're also proposing to reduce the crown of 5 of the trees. So the reason for the works and the tree removal is to enable the proposed construction works to take place and the scaffolding to be erected. Here's the proposed landscaping plan. So you can see here along the Tesco car park and to the rear of the car park, these are the trees to be retained, but then they would be planting 4 trees to the rear as replacement and 1 to the front. And then a variety of ferns and grasses would be planted around the car park as well. To mitigate the loss of the 6 trees and the tree group, the applicant has calculated that you would need 21 trees to provide adequate mitigation. So obviously the land around the car park is quite restricted and you wouldn't be able to provide 21 trees. So they're providing the 5 here as enhancements, and then the 21 replacement trees would be at the orchard in Pontypool Park just down the road. And yeah, that's the proposed development.
You're on mute, Councillor Parish.
Thank you for letting me know. Thank you, Mia. I've got Councillor Ashley with his hand up. Anyone in the chamber wishing to speak, Chris?
Yes, Chair, we have Councillor Gaynor-James.
Okay, right, we'll have Stuart and then Councillor James. Stuart?
I notice it's a very interesting scheme you've got where you've actually got the replacement trees being grown in the park. That's actually pretty good, actually. My only concern, and it's not much of a concern really, is the actual car park is pretty. Obviously, most of us have been round there. It's quite a dark site, and the quality of the vegetation there is over the years has not been brilliant because of it, lack of light, etc. I just hope that we growing something there that's relatively suitable for the site, because it's fairly hostile environment, to be quite frank, and it's something suitable that can mask and bioremediate. That's a word that's been used recently for that site. We've had the same problem in Cwmbran where we plant stuff in the shopping site. So it's something that's tough enough to take that site, grow and do the job. I accept that they've got to take stuff out and do that, but it needs to be something up for it. And that some of the trees and stuff in that site have been quite scraggy. So something it's tough enough to take it, looks attractive, and brings the bioremediation up. And as I said, that's quite innovative to grow stuff down the park, to support that actually. But just noting, because when we had the stuff growing in Cwmbran, some of the, and hopefully they're natives. Can the officer comment on that, please?
I'll ask Mia, could you comment on it, please?
Yeah, of course, thank you. Yeah, they're proposing sweet gum and hornbeam trees, and they'd be heavy standard trees, the largest size available when planted, to try and give that more immediate effect of mitigating the visual impact and the biodiversity impact. And then there would be a condition applied. The condition already requires the trees to be managed, and if they do decline in any time within 5 years, that they would be suitably replaced to try and give them the best chance of survival. So there is that condition, part of the condition there, to try and ensure that they are there for the long term.
Can I come back to? I'm glad to hear hornbeams.
Yes.
Because hornbeams are a lot tougher than beeches, and it would get the dreaded ash out, because the trouble we've got with ash is a lot of it's dying. I'm very, very glad to hear that approach.
You're okay now, Stuart?
Yes, thank you. That's a really,
Right.
really good approach. Thank you.
Thank you. Gaynor, would you like to come in now?
Yes, thanks, Chair. Well, to me, it's a no-brainer. These trees have got to be removed for the construction to go forward. We all want to have this. Pleased to see that the extra trees are going to be going down into the park. So, and they need this to go through, so I'd like to move it.
Right.
Thanks, Chair.
Thank you.
I'll second that. I'll second that on the grounds that they're putting sustainable trees in there.
Right. Thank you, Stuart. Right. I can't see any other hands up with questions, so we'll go into the vote. Chris, can I call on you again, please? Could you please ask members in alphabetical order to state whether they are for, against, or are abstaining this application?
No problem, thank you. Councillor Ashley?
For.
Councillor Gordon?
For.
Councillor Horler? Oh, he's dropped off. Councillor Gaynor James?
For.
Councillor John James?
For.
Councillor Janet Jones?
For.
Councillor Mark Jones?
For.
Yourself, Chair?
For.
Thank you. Councillor Slade?
For.
Thank you. That's unanimous, Chair.
Unanimous. So this application has been approved. Right. Thank you. We'll move on to agenda item 6. Planning application 23/P/0666/FUL. Proposed extension and alterations to existing farmhouse building to provide new cafe space and roof lights. New roof canopy extension to existing tithe hay barn. New build barn to house play facilities. New landscaped approach from existing car park to visitor hub buildings to provide level access to visitor entrances. minor adjustment to porta cabins, and site storage to create additional disabled parking at Green Meadow Community Farm, St Giles Road, Cwm Brown. Can I ask Tom Braithwaite, Planner, to present the report, please?
Yes, thanks, Chair. I'm sure members are familiar with the Levelling Up funding that's going into the community farm. This covers part of the wider community farm site, just the hub buildings and the entrance to the site. So we've got extensions and alterations to the farmhouse building to provide a new cafe and roof lights, and then a small canopy extension to the existing barn to the north of that, a new landscaped approach, as well as a new play barn to the east of the farmhouse building, and then some car park improvements. So we've got the existing site here, the latest aerial photograph. We can see the farmhouse building and then the barn to the north of that, as well as the track that farm vehicles and pedestrians use to access the site from the car park. So just some photographs of the two main buildings subject to this application, the farmhouse on the top and then the barn on the bottom. So the existing site plan looks something like this. We've got the two main hub buildings and then the car park down to the southeast. Some existing floors of the two buildings currently, and then the proposed floor plans. So we can see the extension, cafe extension to the farmhouse on its northern elevation, on its rear elevation, the small canopy extension to the barn at the front, and then the new build play barn to the east of that. So looking at the farmhouse, on the southern elevation, we've got a new roof light on the left-hand side and two new windows going in the existing door openings. And then on the rear, one of the major elements of the scheme, the new conservatory-style extension on the back for the cafe. It's quite a contemporary design, triple gable end feature to contrast with the rural appearance of the existing buildings. Just on the bottom left there, we've got a 3D rendering of what the extension would look like. And then on the right-hand side, a photograph of the site as existing. There's quite a bit of planning history of various extensions to this part of the building on the back. So the aim of this scheme is to remove those and replace it with this simpler and cleaner looking extension. And then on the barn, we can see the existing canopy is extended on the front, and then new windows and doors going in existing door openings. New glass doors over the main entrance to the barn with the existing doors to be retained and to be engineered as sort of as sliding shutters. And then on the back, a similar feature, internal glass doors in that gable end at the top. And then the existing doors again to be retained as shutters. Looking at the next element of the scheme, the new play barn, you can see the elevations there and the photographs of where it would go. It's finished with timber cladding and a metal standing seam roof, quite sensitive to the rural character. It's got a low roof profile and a fairly shallow roof gradient, just not to compete with the existing hub buildings as visitors would enter the site. And then again, we've got another 3D rendering of what the site would look like with the new barn in situ and a preview of the new landscaped approach. So looking at the landscaped approach, there's proposed a new entrance to the site, a new footpath access from the car park up to the hub buildings. Currently, visitors and then farm traffic have to use the same long stretch of track. So the objective is to create a more attractive and inviting approach to the site and separate pedestrians and vehicles. We can see new planting here, shrubs and new trees, as well as a couple of water detention basins, which are part of the SUDS features of the site. The application is subject to a full sustainable urban drainage systems application with Caerphilly. Our ecology officers are happy with the principle of new planting and very much welcome it. They've asked for a couple of conditions just relating to the minute details of species mix and density of planting as well. So, as well as a management plan to go with it. So those are two conditions that we've recommended be attached. And, oh, sorry, I'm skipping ahead. And then the final element is the car park improvements. The idea is for a general increase in capacity, looking at increasing space numbers, I think by around 14 or 15 spaces. The highways officers are happy with this increase in capacity in principle. They've recommended a couple of conditions again, just to finalise the details on the car park. The applicants and the agents have had some difficulties with turning space for buses entering and leaving the site, both as existing and proposed. So it's considered that we can secure the final layout of the car park via condition, as well as a management schedule as well. So in summary, it's a fantastic new additions to the already brilliant community farm site, and the application is recommended for approval. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Tom. Right, I can see one hand up, Councillor Stewart Ashley. Chris, is anyone indicating they want to ask a question in the chamber?
Yes, Chair, Councillor Gaynor James.
Right. Gaynor, do you want to go first this time?
No, it's okay, Stuart can go. It was just, it's not a question. It was just, I'd like to make a statement saying this is very exciting application for the farm. So, well done for everybody that's put the work into it. Fabulous, that's all I wanted to say, Chair.
Right, thank you, Gaynor. Right, Councillor Stewart Ashley.
Well, Gaynor's beaten me to it. It looks lovely, it's done what we always wanted to. It looked incredibly tired for a long time, and some of the points are not criticisms. Get me on this one, by you, please. One of the problems of the building, and I'm going to ask Tom, you made some good observations there. Coming into the building, one of the biggest problems has always been if you're walking or cycling or some other method other than a vehicle, you always had to dice it with buses and cars. One of my questions is there a separate pedestrian access, not dicing it with cars? Once you get into that bit, obviously the separate entrance is a brilliant idea, because I always hated going down that drive and having to mix it with cars. A separate entrance through the car park, because that was always something personally I hated. And I did make a comment about that. And I've cycled in there. I don't do it these days because my disability doesn't allow me to. But getting in there separately, whether you do it on a horse or a bike or whatever, doesn't matter. There's another separate question about bus stops, but that's not the scope of this planning application, but it ought to be somewhere somebody ought to ask that question. Going in there separate on the level, because obviously wheelchair access is important. The other thing with the farm, it's always been notorious for it, is the levels. And that's not something I see in the application, because it looks like you smooth the levels out. Going round the farm has always been a difficult one for people, either using frames or wheelchairs or pushchairs. That would be interesting to see what they've done to address that. The barn was not a good place to do, and up and down, you more or less did it, but it was how they've taken out the trip hazards, because it was not good for that. It looks to me like they've had a really, really good go at that. I'd be interested to see and obviously smooth and rough surfaces, because it was a farm, and it's always difficult to take that out. But obviously, if we're going to spend this amount of money on it, and we've done really, really innovative stuff there, then that's something they should have been able to look at. I love the farm, so I mean, you know, if that's been done in there. And I like the fact that they've used that really, really good space around the back and done something innovative. We're putting in all basically what is how you say glass covered space. The other thing was, because this is the first time I've been able to look at this, it looks really, really innovative, and it's done something which the people who came from Eden Project have done an Eden Project on it, from what I can see, and that's what I'm really approving of, because putting the play barn in, if you've got the Eden Project, you can see what is in the mind of the people that have done this, and it's making good use of space, but Eden Project always had the flow in there, so people that were not so good on their feet or how to use wheelchairs or whatever could get round it. And that's my question there, Tom, just whether we got that flow in there. And then the other thing, which obviously Stephen Company, the ecologist, about retaining landscaping, because before it looked like a farm. Now we've got some landscaping in there, and the thing's got more of a horticultural feel to it, which was always a critique I had with the staff. You got the animals in there, you got the landscape in there, and it should feel that, because there's some wonderful bits to this farm and the feel of that landscape there. That's it. So a maintenance that reflects that, and again, taken from Eden, if anybody's ever been around there, understand that this place has to have that feel. We've spent an awful lot of money on it, so it's got to have that maintenance that I not got to have, but it would be brilliant if it did. And we're selling this, so this has got to sell itself. And it's also got to have that global climate change nature emergency feel in there as well, because otherwise, what are we doing this for? I'm making no apologies for making this comment either.
Right, have you finished now? Because I think Tom...
No, I'm asking the questions that it reflects that in the design. Norman, sorry about this, but I'm not going to go any longer. It's just 3 questions in there. 1, access, 2, surface, and 3, the thing. If I could ask Tom that, whether he's got the answers for that, would be interesting.
Yeah, I'm sure he can answer it. Thank you, Tom.
Yeah, of course. Thanks, Councillor. So in terms of improving accessibility, the new landscapes approach does sort of flatten a lot of the existing levels on the site. So it's basically very much improving the accessibility. The new path would have to be DDA compliant as well, so that's covered as well. In terms of the levels in between the buildings as well, I appreciate that there are some level changes. I think they're working towards making that a lot more accessible as well. I think, I wonder whether, Councillor, you're asking about the buildings beyond just the hub buildings as well, because we've got a second application coming in imminently as well, which deals with the other part of the site as well. So that would then be obviously subject to an application and assessment as well.
Thank you there. I'd like to propose it as well, but after Janet's done, please.
Yes, okay, Stuart. Councillor Janet Jones, would you like to come in now?
It doesn't seem a lot after Stuart's had his statement. I was just concerned with disability access, and hopefully that in the car park there will be disabled parking spaces, because I know people have come to me and say they have difficulties. So that's more of an observation, really. But other than that, I've let Stuart have his thunder.
Right. Would you like Tom to comment on what you've said, Janet?
And just make a note of it, Chair. I'm sure that they will do it, but thanks very much.
Thank you.
Can I come in, Chair, just very quickly?
Yes, yes, Tom.
There are multiple disabled spaces in the existing car park going in, and then there's also a couple up on the western side of the farmhouse building as well. So obviously there's a lot less distance to cover for those spaces as well.
Thank you, Tom. That's good to hear.
Yes. Right. Thank you.
Chair, I'm not raising my hand. Could I just make one other observation? If
you're quick.
Very quick. The other thing is that the one thing that's got also should happen is that there is no. I'm just minded of it the other day with my grandson. There's awful lot of children in there. Just make sure that there is separation from the farm and the car park for wee children, because there's an awful lot of wee children in there, and that was something they all. I know it's obvious, but is it?
Right, perhaps Tom will comment on that too.
Yes, thanks, Councillor. Yeah, I believe that would probably be down to the management of the farm rather than as part of this application, but I'm sure they've got their fingers on the pulse straight away.
It was landscaped into it last time.
Okay then, Stuart. Chris, is there anyone in the chamber wanting to speak?
No, Chair.
Right, thank you. Right, we'll go into the vote then. Right, it's back to you now, Chris.
Thank you. Councillor Ashley?
4.
Councillor Gordon?
4.
Councillor Horler?
4.
Councillor Gaynor James?
4.
Councillor John James?
4.
Councillor Janet Jones?
4.
Councillor Mark Jones?
4.
Yourself, Chair?
4.
Councillor Slade?
4.
That's unanimous again, Chair.
Right, thank you. This planning application has been approved. Right, we'll move on now to agenda item 7, planning application 23/P/0721/FUL. Proposed partial conversion and refurbishment of existing public toilet building to provide a cafe/restaurant use class A3 and associated alterations, including extensions to the side and rear and replacement steps between the Italian Gardens and listed memorial gates at Hanbury Road, Pontypool. Can I ask Mia McAndrew, Senior Planner, to report this, please? Present the report, please.
Yes, thank you, Chair. So you'll probably recall back in, I think it was also May, a very similar scheme came forward to Planning Committee. It forms part of the Levelling Up scheme in Pontypool as well, and it's for the refurbishment and extension of the public convenience. Unfortunately, the approved scheme, when they looked into a bit more after getting the consent, they couldn't implement it because there were structural issues. Obviously, the building is built into a bank and it sort of supports the road, and it was discovered that if they did it, they couldn't do it without completely demolishing the building and rebuilding it, and obviously that would have implications visually, and so they went back to the drawing board a bit and tried to rationalise it and figure out a solution. So here is the application site. It's the public convenience, which you can see from Hanbury Road here, where it's connected to the War Memorial Gates. Here is the building to the rear in the Italian Gardens. So here are the existing floor plans and elevations. So you can see there's existing features which are really valuable, such as piers on the front, gates on the entrance doors, glass block windows and panelling, sort of detailing around the windows. These were the approved plans, just for reference. So you can see they were going to make the lower floor a lot larger and extend the front and add these big doors and windows along the front into the cafe restaurant. And then the upper floor glass extension to the rear. So this is what they're now proposing. So the lower floor, they would still be providing a cafe kiosk, but they wouldn't be indoor seating on the lower floor because they'd be building this large retaining structure which would be under the existing building section by here and then built around this new part. And they would be, to give a bit more floor space so that the cafe or restaurant have the facilities they need, there would actually be a mezzanine level over this lower floor. So there would be a counter at the cafe kiosk on the lower floor, and people could go and be served there, and there would be the external seating provided with this Italianate paving, which would sort of tie in with the Italian Gardens. So here's the upper floor. It's similar to before, it's slightly different. They'd be extending at this side and to the rear, and it would be the same sort of glass style extension. The key changes are on the front elevation, really. I think they're quite positive changes. The glass block windows, similar to existing, would be used to fill the what was or what would be the female entrance with a gate locked over it, and then you'd have these quite large attractive windows filling the central panel to give a view through to the cafe restaurant and then through to the gardens behind. And the gate would also be kept on this front entrance but split in two and open for the entrance. And you can see they'd be reusing windows from the existing building on the side extension. And then very similar to the rear, with the upper floor glass extension with the branches, they would have like sort of tree appearance and a steel frame. And here are the proposed side elevations. It's always useful to have some 3D visualization as you can get a better picture of what it would look like. So they would need to install some plant on the roof, on the existing and the proposed roof, for ventilation, and so yeah, they would have to put a screen around that, and they're proposing a mirrored screen. It's the same as last time, that we do have some concerns about whether the mirrored finish would actually just reflect the roof around the screen rather than the sky and the gardens. But it is appreciated that it would be set in from the side, so visibility of it would be limited. So we'd just be applying a condition about that to the related listed building application, if approved. Similar to before, there's the approved scheme for the alterations to the steps to the north. They just need to be redirected to enable the proposed development, and at the same time they'd give better steps, because it is a bit of an awkward slope by there. There is a tree next to those steps, so that would be retained, and there would be a condition for a construction method statement just to make sure that the works wouldn't affect the tree. Unfortunately, to enable the proposed development, 2 cypress trees would need to be removed. To mitigate that, there would be a landscaping, and it would be a variety of climbers and perennials and ferns, and they'd also be planting 2 lime trees. You can see the tree to be retained here. There'd be another tree here and another tree here. There are more trees required to mitigate and provide enhancement, but obviously the Italian gardens have got quite an open character and people use those spaces, and we didn't want to just fill that in with trees. So we've got the 2 there to give to try and preserve that visual appearance along the street and the conservation area. But then we're also proposing to add 6 trees in addition to the ones proposed for the car park to the orchard. So you can see it's the 6 along here, fruit trees. And so the recommendation is that the application be approved.
Thank you, Mia. Right, I can't see any hands up. Is there anyone in the chamber wanting to speak? Chris?
Councillor Gaynor-James, Chair.
Right, Councillor Gaynor-James.
Yes, thank you, Chair. I'd just like to say well done for everybody that's worked on this planning application. Again, very exciting for Pontypool. Love the idea that the Italian gardens have been left open. Yeah, just a fab application. Thanks.
Thank you, Gaynor. Right, Councillor Stewart-Ashley, you've got your hand up.
If we're taking the Leyland Eye out, which is what we look, is there a chance we could, if it's an Italiate garden, we could actually plant with something that's Italiate? Or it looks that, you know, there's Lombier, various Italian trees. I think there are some in there already. Something it could look in keeping with it. I don't know what Gaynor thinks about that, but I just thought something that looked in keeping with the gardens, because you spent a lot on those gardens just to bring them back to looking like that. Just struck me that that would look nice in there and appropriate. I don't know what the ecologist would say about it, but it would bring the character of that back to how it was planted. Just an idea.
Well, we can ask Councillor Gaynor-James. I'm sure she's delighted with it as it's presented.
No. I think it's true, but it's we're doing planting like that. The park's beginning to look lovely, and it just struck me. It's not always has to be natives, and that particular garden's planted up some rather interesting plants in there.
Right. Do you want to comment on that?
I'd like to support Gaynor, by the way, on this.
Yes. You support Gaynor.
Yeah.
Mia, do you want to comment on it?
Thank you, Chair. I was just going to say that, you know, that comments are noted. They've just put forward the lime trees and, you know, the ecologist is happy, the tree officer's happy. So on balance, we just think it's okay to approve as it stands, but
Okay.
Comments are noted.
I just wonder whether, you know, we do have a historical officer that I discovered when we went round the other historical buildings. What was it? My Mylad. And obviously, if we've got historical, it wouldn't cost a lot just to put something appropriate in there.
Well, I think everybody's satisfied, Stuart.
Okay, no, don't worry.
Okay.
No, I'm not prolonging this. I'll just support Gaynor on it.
Right. Thank you. Right. I can't see any hands up now. Any more questions? So we're asking you again, Chris. Can you ask everyone in alphabetical order to state where? Oh no, nobody's proposed this yet, have they?
I will, Chair.
I thought Gaynor had.
Oh, right. Seconder?
Me.
Right, there's 2 seconders, but that's okay. Right, Chris, could we call on you again?
No problem. Thank you, Chair. Councillor Ashley?
4.
4. Councillor Gordon?
4.
Councillor Horler?
4.
Councillor Gaynor James?
4.
Councillor John James?
4.
Councillor Janet Jones?
4.
Thank you. Councillor Mark Jones?
4.
Councillor Parish?
4.
Councillor Slade?
4.
Thank you. That's unanimous, Chair.
Yes, this application has been approved. Right, thank you. We'll move on to agenda item 8. That's planning application 23/P/0722/LBC. Now, I won't go and read it through because it's exactly the same as agenda item 7. And I'll ask Mia McAndrew, Senior Planner, to present the report, please.
Thank you, Chair. As you say, it is the same scheme. The purpose of this application is literally just to look at the impact on the listed structure. And we'll be seeking a resolution from the members and getting the okay from CADU as well before issuing the decision. So here are the War Memorial gates in the context and connected to the public toilets building, and here are the steps as well to the north. I mentioned before about they had to go back to the drawing board a bit to make sure that they weren't, completely demolishing the building. So they've provided a useful plan here, so you can see that this section of the building would remain as existing. This green section here, which is what is the women's toilets at the moment, would be dismantled and carefully stored and then rebuilt. And then here are the extensions here, but you can see where the existing windows would be reused. So basically most of the building would be retained as existing, as with the roof. And here you can see the scheme in a little bit more detail and its relationship with the gates. And here are the gates on the entrance that I described earlier, where they'd be splitting down the middle so that they could open up on the entrance. And also the steps to the north. So here's the scheme. And so the Heritage Impact Assessment concluded that there would be a slight indirect effect on the listed gates and other surrounded listed buildings because it could affect views between heritage assets, but ultimately their value would be retained. The key value of the gates is the good example of ironwork and also their communal value. And it's not considered that this development would have a significant impact on that. They have submitted a level 3 building survey, which just records the building and its context as existing, so that we've got it in the future before the development takes place, which was recommended by the Glamorgan Gwent Archaeological Society. And we think that in conclusion that's quite sensitive refurbishment, and the development should be approved. Yeah, listed bills consent could be granted.
Thank you, Mia. Right, I don't see any hands up. Would Councillor Gaynor-James like to come in?
Yes, please, Chair. I was just about to put my hand up to put this in for approval.
Thank you. A seconder? It's been seconded. Right, we call on you again. Chris, please.
No problem, thank you, Chair. Councillor Ashley?
4.
Thank you, Councillor Gordon.
4.
Councillor Horler?
4.
Councillor Gaynor-James?
4.
Councillor John James?
4.
Councillor Janet Jones?
4.
Councillor Mark Jones?
4.
Yourself, Chair?
4.
Thank you. And finally, Councillor Slade?
4.
Thank
Right.
you. That's unanimous, Chair.
Thank you. Right, this application has been approved. Right, that concludes the meeting. Thank you everyone for your attendance and your contributions. And I'd like to wish you all a happy Christmas and a happy and peaceful 2024. I'll now close the meeting.